Hi, I'm Parisa Wright, founder and CEO of Greener and Cleaner Bromley and Beyond, a not-for-profit community interest group, a Facebook group, and essentially a community group, hopefully helping to empower me, but also many others now, to take small steps and larger steps, to take steps remotely, digitally online, and also in person in the community, to address the climate emergency, to reduce the environmental impact of our local communities, starting in our homes, in our schools, in our universities and workplaces and green spaces, to try and reduce the carbon footprint of our borough and try and get the community to engage with each other so we can all work together to address this climate emergency in a really positive, collaborative and community-spirited way. I was inspired by my time at Bromley High, I would say that, wouldn't I? In the sense that I set up the politics department, no I didn't, I set up the politics club at Bromley High, inspired by the amazing politics department. And I got involved in a lot of extracurricular activities because I was very passionate about history and politics and human rights, and I wanted to make a difference. Having grown up with Iranian and English heritage, I was very aware of all the inequalities in the world, but I wasn't aware until recently, really, about all of the issues around the environment and how much of an impact they have on us in our homes locally here in Bromley or Blackheath or Lewisham or the UK, as well as all around the world, to all of humanity and the planet. So hopefully the group helps me empower myself and everyone else empower themselves to make small changes which have a huge impact rather than us all doing it disparately. About 18 months ago, I was coming back from maternity leave and started to become much more aware of what was happening in the media around the environment. I'd already been thinking about environmental issues, having my first and second child, because I think sometimes having kids kind of like is a good wake-up call. But I'd only really been thinking about making sure we didn't buy loads of new junk and making sure we recycled and trying to plant for the wildlife in our garden, that sort of stuff. We hadn't really been thinking much bigger than that. And going back to work and my head clearing and starting to problem solve again as a lawyer, my brain started problem solving around what I was seeing in terms of environmental issues locally. Because I felt like there was a lot of debate nationally about what was going on, but I thought that it would be really good for people like me and other people locally to know what we could do to make a difference. And that maybe if there were more of us making these small changes, it would have a bigger impact. So basically, about a year and 3 months ago, I set up a small community group on Facebook called Greener and Cleaner, Bromley and Beyond. We started off with about 20 members who are all kind of my friends. And now, just over a year later, we've got over 5,300 members. We've done sort of over 30 events. We've got involved with the council. We've done all sorts of things. And amazing changes have happened. Local projects have taken place and people have started changing what they do and discussing things more. And that's the thing, normalising changes, meeting your community. People have made friends. People have worked together on amazing projects. So I kind of wanted to make things better for my children and for everyone's kids and for all of you young people out there, because I've lived my life almost oblivious of the consequences of my actions. And as a result, I feel like we're in this mess. And there's no good me blaming the media or advertising or anyone else. I'm an intelligent, compassionate individual and I should have realised there were consequences to my actions. So now I want to make sure that I can make up for it and try and help out my kids and all of you young people and leave the world in a better state than it's in now and try and address this climate emergency. So hopefully I can work with people like you guys, as we have done with the Bromley Student Strikers and other young people, and also older generations. You've got so much to teach us in terms of make, do and mend. But that's essentially why I set up the group, to try and make a real difference, but really to empower people locally so they can make a difference in their homes, their workplaces, their schools. And people can find it much easier to connect with the environmental issues when they see the impact on their own lives and their own families. and also when they can see the little changes that they can make or the bigger changes that they can make that can have a huge impact on their carbon footprint, on the biodiversity of their area, and on their children's future and their own future. So Greener and Cleaner Bromley and Beyond, or GCBB, as we lovingly refer to it as, was essentially set up to do, I suppose, 2 or 3 main things. One thing was to make people like me feel like we weren't alone, we weren't the only ones who were worried or who cared or wanted to make a difference, and to bring us together with other people who felt in the same boat so that we could make more differences together and work together on projects and also just chat and socialise and share tips and ideas. So sort of the community bonding and the community spirit aspect of that, when people see you out and about sort of planting a tree or litter picking or organising hustings or whatever you're doing, they realise that, you know, it's becoming normal to care about the community, it's becoming normal to care about the planet. So sort of improving community spirit and engagement is one big part, and that helps with normalisation, like becoming normal, for it to become normal to think about and care about the impact of our decisions, not only on ourselves, but on our local area and on the planet as a whole. So normalisation of a care for your community is a really great thing that is also part of what we're trying to achieve and what we are achieving. And then really sharing information so that people can work out what they can do if they want to change electricity suppliers, or if they want to reduce the carbon footprint of their home, or make their holidays more eco-friendly, or help the wildlife in their garden. Sharing information is such an important thing. Most people don't realise how easy it is to almost halve the carbon footprint of your home by, you know, changing to a green renewable energy tariff and save money. Most people don't realise it's really bad for local air pollution if you're using wood fire burners or bonfires, or, you know, if you're idling your engine idling the engine outside school where you're waiting to pick up your kid, or, you know, waiting for someone at the shops or whatever. People don't know that, but once they do know that, they really are willing to make a difference, because they all live here, their children live here, their friends live here, their grandchildren live here, they want to grow up here. If they realise there's something simple they can do to make a big impact, they will do it. So a lot of what we do is about information sharing. And all of those things come together also in using people's voices. So people can use their voices to make sure that their representatives, both in Parliament and really importantly in the local council, know what their concerns are. Because time and time again, what I heard at the beginning was, no one ever writes to us about concerns about air quality. No one ever writes to us about concerns about the environment, about trees, about pollution, about the climate emergency. And yet, once everyone started talking about it a bit more in the media and also a bit more in our group, more and more letters started going into the council, emails, tweets, you know, Facebook posts, and suddenly the council started getting more and more engaged. Now, I'm not saying that was all our group. The media had a huge role to play. But it's really important that we all let our MPs, our governments, our residents' associations, our schools, our PTAs, every club, every community group you're a part of, and your councillors. I know, I didn't know their names either 2 years ago. Find out who they are and tell them what you care about and what you want them to change, because they have the power to make changes. And some of the amazing community projects we've done have been in collaboration with the council, and they've been a really good force for good in certain areas. But, you know, there are certain departments or certain individuals who have different ways of looking at things. And so it's important that those people also hear from young people and older people and every people in their local area to know that they want the council to be actively involved in addressing the climate emergency, from where they invest their money to what they do about green energy to what they do about recycling. For every level, people care about that, and they don't realise that just sending a tweet or writing an email can have a much bigger impact than they could ever have known. So what kind of impact have we had to date? Well, this group has gone from being me worrying on my own to being me and 20 other people that I knew locally who were interested, sort of chatting together, to being over 5,300 people and growing at a rate of about 14 to 20% a month. We have done over 30 to 35 free community events in the last sort of 15 months. From teaching people how to crochet and make sort of shopping bags out of cotton, to organising the first ever environmentally focused hustings for the borough, which was last November and December. In some of the wards of the borough, we were the only hustings organised for those elections. And for each of those events, those 3 events, we had over 160 people, and the events were packed out. The long and short of it is that we've gone from being a group of interested, worried people locally to being a much bigger group of Southeast London, though Bromley focused, concerned residents who are doing things on lots of levels, including litter picking outside, including planting trees. We did our first big fundraiser last year, and we helped a local school which had very poor air quality because of congestion sitting outside the school. We helped them bring together different community stakeholders, and we fundraised as well. And together they got a contribution of about £50,000 to put in green screening outside the school to protect it from the road, and also to put in air purifiers in the classroom to help those primary school children and preschool children with air quality. So that improved the lives of sort of about 400 children and staff, and obviously the family members then who go in and out of that school, and the people who use that road as well, because the air quality improves. We've also worked with lots of other people in order to support things like active travel and livable neighbourhood and local neighbourhood schemes in places like Bromley and beyond, in terms of supporting things like school streets and play streets, street parties, 20-mile-an-hour zones where it's appropriate, schools being better protected by trees, etc. So we've had a lot of impact. We were even involved in pressing the council to go for a 2029 carbon neutral target rather than a 2050, and thankfully they went for that in the end, and thankfully they followed up with a carbon management strategy, which we hope to work with them on going forward and collaborate with them in terms of sharing the carbon neutral message for the borough and beyond. So I feel like we have had quite an impact. And every day new households are coming and learning and sharing their ideas on how to reduce their environmental impact, how to improve biodiversity in their gardens, and the little steps that they're making, that we're all making, and that we can then share with our family and friends to have a bigger and bigger and bigger impact. And also how we've had success in dealing with our representatives in the local councils and in government in order to create change. And some people have had great success with PTAs and with their residents' associations, with their choir groups, to do amazing environmental projects. So it can just show you are very capable of empowering yourself and many others, whether it's setting up a community group or whether it's feeding into an existing community group that you're part of, whether it's your karate club or whether it's your craft club or whatever it is. There's always an environmental dimension to it, and there's so much we can do, and there's so much we can do together. Every time an organisation or an individual makes a change anywhere in the world, but especially locally to you, it has an impact on you, it has a positive impact. So whether you're helping with a project in another area of the borough or for somebody else, that will still have an impact for you, because all of these changes are helping to address the climate emergency. And that's what we all need to be doing together, working to get everybody's carbon footprint down, talking about it more. Now, what are the main things you guys can do? Let me empower you and give you some top tips on how you can make a really big difference to address the climate emergency. Obviously, as I said, feeding into existing community groups or setting up your own group is a really fantastic idea. Obviously, we welcome you to join our Facebook group or get involved in our community projects without joining our Facebook group. We do a schools event a couple of times a year where schools share their top tips for reducing their environmental impact, and you might be able to help by feeding into your school how they could do that, so that then they can consider those changes and take them on board. But what I would really suggest is thinking about buying less. We all buy way too much stuff. In the UK, we buy more clothes per person than any other country in Europe. And the International the global fashion industry emits more greenhouse gases than the global aviation and the maritime and the shipping maritime industries together. So aviation and shipping, less greenhouse gases, shockingly, than the global fashion industry. So really, one thing you could do is to help by wearing more vintage clothes, going more pre-loved, and trying to learn to like make, do and mend, sew on a button, stitch up a rip. It really isn't a big deal. And you can come to one of our workshops and we can show you how, or I'm sure the school will be willing to show you, or your folks could show you, or your grandparents could show you. But essentially making, do and mend, buying less stuff. So, experiences are a really good way to replace physical stuff, because we just don't need any more plastic in the world. Every piece of plastic you buy, that's here. That's here for when your grandchildren are here. When your great-great-grandchildren are here, that piece of plastic is still in the world. So let's just stop buying stuff all the time and find other ways to make ourselves happy and live our lives. Because unfortunately the planet can't carry on sustainably like this. So one way to empower you guys, pre-loved, vintage, make, do and mend, and buy less random stuff. The next thing is buy less, fly less. Please just try to fly less. If you and your family go on holiday normally, 3 or 5 times a year, half that. You don't need to stop flying, just half it. Reduce it. Do a vacation where you can drive to, or get the train to, or get the bus to, but just try and fly less. And your parents will listen to you, your friends will listen to you, your colleagues will listen to you. You will have control of your own holidays very shortly. So fly less and drive less, obviously, if you can, because driving impacts air pollution, wood burning stoves and bonfires, and driving, those sorts of things impact local air pollution massively. And let's face it, we're in the middle of a respiratory pandemic, so we want to do as much as possible to improve air quality and the strength of our lungs, not weaken them. And then eat less meat. Don't have to be a veggie. I'm not necessarily a veggie, but if you can eat less meat, that has a massive impact. Eat less dairy, that has a massive impact. And, you can be very healthy still eating less meat, or no meat if you want to, but that's, obviously, all of this is individual choice. But reducing these things makes a massive impact. And finally, changing to green energy. Right now, you might not have control of those energy bills. However, I'm pretty sure your folks will listen to you if you say, let's halve the carbon footprint of our home and reduce our bills. Come on, guys, let's get renewable energy tariffs in. Because quite frankly, if all of our boroughs, reduced their carbon footprint just by residents changing to green energy and renewables, that would be incredible. We would be online, we would be sorted, But we need to do more than that right now, because not everyone is doing that. But if you can get your energy on a green tariff, and later on when you have a place of your own, make sure you've got a renewable tariff, then that's a massive impact that you're making for the carbon footprint of your home and your family. That and flying and buying less stuff, these things are the things that you can totally do and get involved in now, and that you can talk to other people about. And, feel free to join our group and share your ideas and your tips and talk to other people outside of that bubble, so that they realise that it's normal to care about the environment and care about other people and start making these changes, and that you don't have to be rich to do them, you don't have to have loads of time to do them, just have to care a little bit. So I suppose in conclusion, find out what you're passionate about. It might not be the environment, it might be, human rights violations in prisons, it might be, farming, it might be forestry, it might be, biology, marine biology, it might be whatever. But long and short of it is that you can do whatever you want to do. I was worried about the environment, I am worried about the environment, and I want to do something about it. I feel empowered and more in control and less down and more confident and surrounded by people who are working with me and are positive and are collaborative. And people respond to passion. So if you are willing to go above and beyond and put the time in to either set up a group or come up with ideas for an existing group you're part of and talk to them passionately about something, then people will work with you and you can do amazing things. if anything, this group has shown me has been that we're only restricted by our own creativity and our passion and our drive and our willingness to go above and beyond. And I don't think there's anything that you guys can't do, whether that's setting up a project, whether that's having an education that you want, whether that's a career that you want. You can achieve any of those things if you're willing to put in the time and the energy and you have the passion for them. Because when you care about something deeply, it's just easy to do. It's easy to spend that time and to bring other people along with you and to work with other wonderful people. So I encourage you, get involved with Green and Cleaner, get involved with Bromley Friends of the Earth or other, environmental groups or other groups that are doing what you're passionate about. But it's totally worth spending this time during lockdown to identify things that you care about and help move them forward. And as I said, whether that's your career or a charitable organisation or project, or something for your local community, we started getting involved with helping provide scrubs for local hospitals as well and sourcing them. You can chop and change to an extent depending on what's going on in this world, and you might have to do things digitally or remotely, or you can do some things in person. But ultimately, it's working out what you care about and helping with those projects and working on those projects where you can. You have it in you, you're intelligent, passionate people, and I have every faith that you will find a group, or you'll set up a group, or you'll set up a project that will make a big difference to yourselves and other people. Good luck.